out this video. I'm sure you're checking it out because you want to know how you can best support your student with their online learning. So a couple things. First, thank you for supporting your student and for helping teachers around the country and around the world in this new endeavor of everybody doing online learning, where some kids prefer the synchronous, they miss being in class, and some kids prefer asynchronous learning. Two words that we never used before 6 months ago. So anyway, thank you. And we appreciate everything you guys are doing to help support your students. So let's go over some basics that you can do to help at home. I'm going to start with the basics, and then I'll move on through a list. And then at the end, I'll talk about some specific things that you can do to help support your elementary student with writing, reading, and math. The rest of the material before that is for any ages, for elementary students, middle school, and high school students. So first, help support your students by making sure that they set an alarm and are up and ready to go in the morning. Obviously, with high school students, they're a little more independent. They should be able to do this on their own. Even middle schoolers, you know your student best, so you know what they need and how much time they need to get ready in the morning, probably better than they do. So help them set an alarm that will get them ready for school as if they were actually going there. The second part is to actually set an alarm for 2 minutes before they're supposed to be in class, whether that's something that you set on the student's iPad, or maybe your student has access to another device, even an old-fashioned alarm clock, that they can set an alarm. So they know at 8:23, they have 2 minutes to get to their 8:25 class, and they can drop whatever they're doing. You can set an alarm on your phone if you have lower elementary students. There's a video that's attached below that will teach you and your student how to set an alarm on their own devices if they have access to an iPad for their remote learning, so that they know when that alarm goes off, they need to be in their learning space. Okay? The next thing is their learning spaces. So a couple things to remember. You want to help them keep their materials ready. So at our school, we've got everything organized by folders. We have our green folder for language arts. We have our yellow folder for art. We have our red folder for math. So we ask the students to take out their materials. Try and help them stay organized, especially with your elementary students. They're going to need a little more help with when you're finished, it goes right in there. And teachers are working on this as well. The first few weeks, if you help them with this, they should be good to go. The other thing that you want to help them with is the learning space itself. Now, you know your student and help monitor them. What I mean by that is some students will do just fine sitting at the dining room table. Some are doing fine sitting on the floor using the coffee table. You have to decide what works for you and your student. A couple things to remember about their learning spaces. One, you want to keep the background free of distractions. And what I mean by that is not look at my decor. What I mean by that is you'll notice that I'm up against a wall. And the reason for that is I'm teaching in the laundry room. And the last thing that you or anyone wants to see is someone in my household who happens to be walking through the laundry room looking for a particular article of clothing. So keep that in mind. Regardless, we don't want to invade your home spaces. This is an awkward time for everybody. So please see what your student is reflecting from going on in the background. And if that student is in a spot where people are walking back and forth, please be aware of that. And I know it's really hard because sometimes having them face towards a window might be better because there'll be less distractions in front of them. So work with your student, help find a space anywhere in your home that will work. The other thing that can really help is headphones. I've put an attachment below for headphones that I've used in my classroom for the last few years. When there's a break, these work great. Obviously, if you have a middle school, upper elementary, or even high school student, any sort of ones that have come with your phones or that you can get inexpensively will work great. The key is to have them with a microphone. For lower elementary students, the reason I have one linked below is that those tend to fall right out of their ears and is frustrating for them. So these have been tried on. They're great for K through probably 3 or 4, and mine have lasted 4 or 5 years. So it's worth the extra few dollars to get this set or something similar. It doesn't have to be this one. For technology, each school, if you're lucky enough to have devices for your student, that's fantastic. You want to make sure that your student is able to log in to all the different places that they need to. So our students need to be able to log into Clever one time, which will help them log into Google Classroom and Seesaw. Your student probably has their own system. Just make sure at this point in the school year that they are logged in and ready to go. It eliminates a lot of glitches. And I know districts are sending out emails to help you and support. The other thing that you should be aware of is who do you call or who do you email if the device isn't working? If you don't know those and it hasn't been communicated from your principal, your teacher, or even the district, our district has done that repeatedly, then reach out to the teachers and say, how do I contact somebody when something's not working? Because during a synchronous lesson, your teacher isn't checking their emails, so they can't help you. They just know that you're not there, your student is not there in class. So that phone number or contact is a key piece for you to know. The last thing, at the end of the day, you want to make sure that your student, especially lower elementary students, are turning in their work. So understand from the teacher what is actually due by the end of the day and how do I know that they've turned it in. If your student is in Google Classroom, you can sign up for email alerts and you'll get messages from the teacher saying this is what they need to turn in when they need to turn it in. Obviously, as your student gets older, you need to be doing less and less of this monitoring. And even ideally at lower elementary, the goal is in the first few weeks is to set up the routines and patterns, and then your student should be able to do it on their own. So keep those in mind. You can also ask them at the end of the day, what did you learn today? And you have to be specific. I am the mother of 3 sons, and they are usually very vague. So ask them specific questions. What did you learn in history today? What are you talking about? What did you learn in math? What was the best part about today? What story did your teacher read to you? What did you talk about in English? What book are you reading? Try and make the questions very specific. That's just to help you stay engaged with your student and to know what's going on. Last, please encourage your students to ask questions, to participate, and to communicate any concerns. We do not want your student getting up from their learning space to go take you away from work and all the things that you have going on in your own home. We want to know if they don't understand something because it helps guide our instruction. So if they aren't seeing something or the directions haven't been very clear, they don't know how to do something, please encourage them. Teachers will do it as well, but encourage your student. Hey, if you don't understand, just raise your hand and let your teacher know so that they know you don't understand and they can explain it again. Last week, I did an entire goodbye song. Nobody could hear me because my eye was muted the whole time, and they were very sweet about it. And finally, a student said, we can't hear you. That's why we didn't go anywhere when you asked us to do something. So I was super thankful for that. Also, as parents, if an assignment isn't working for your student and you've read the emails from your teacher and it's still not working, please communicate that with the teacher. If it's not working, they want to know and they want to help you understand how to do it. There is that question like, I don't want to be the parent who's asking the question that they already answered. So just stay on top of your emails from your teacher, especially your teacher. A lot of times they'll repeat things that the principal said. You should also read those emails, but those are your best resources on answering questions. And if not, your teacher should have communicated that with you. Who is the person to talk to if I have questions or concerns about something that's not working or we don't understand? Okay, now we're on to writing and reading. The reading, I've made a Google slideshow, PowerPoint, slide deck, all those terms work. It's linked down below and it tells you specifically, it has hyperlinks to lots of different things. The most important thing you need to know is have your kid read. Have your kid read every single day. That's super important. No matter what grade they are, they need to be reading. Give them a fiction book, something they're interested in. It doesn't matter if it's a graphic novel. It doesn't matter if it's an audiobook. Those are all great things. So in elementary, we talk about there are 3 ways to read. You can read with the pictures, you can read the words, and you can tell somebody about the story afterwards. That's another way of rereading a book is by communicating, this is the story we read today in class, or this is what we're reading, by communicating that with you. If you're not sure how to get books, nowadays it is challenging. Almost all libraries around the country and even around the world are open. Sometimes you have to reserve books and then you can have an assigned time to go in and pick them up. Find out when those how that procedure works. Ours is through our community library. You put books on hold, they let you know. There's a hyperlink that'll say, sign up for a time to go pick it up. I highly recommend the library. If you have the opportunity and the means to purchase books, I love supporting local bookstores. So I know that there's a local bookstore I can order books from, and they'll actually deliver it to my house for a small fee. So that's another option. Trading books. You can do that as well with the little libraries if you have those in your neighborhoods, or even just communicating with friends. Hey, does anybody have any books? You can get on Nextdoor and ask people to donate books, or who might be cleaning out a house. Since we're all home, people are cleaning out, so check that out. I'm a big fan of also getting them at secondhand stores. You can get a lot of great books really inexpensively. So make sure they're reading for 20 minutes every day. Check out the slideshow on how to help support your readers. When it comes to writing at elementary, and this is also true of any time we sit down to write, writers write regularly. At elementary, we try to do it every day. High school, it's not always possible. But the first time you sit down to write, it is really just kind of a brain dump. You sit down, you're typing up all your ideas, or you're writing it out by hand. At elementary, we want to make sure that students aren't restricted by, I don't know how to spell that, as they're trying to get their ideas down on paper. So if they turn to you and say, hey, can you spell this word? You just say, you sound it out. It's going to be great. So you'll notice students, the goal is for them to sound it out. So instead of always spelling out Saturday, you can have them just say the sounds. S, a, t, d, a. It's a lot of sounds, but it really helps the teacher know what sounds do they already know and what are they missing. It is very helpful for a teacher to guide their instruction by seeing your students writing on their own. And when you provide those words, it's not as helpful. Now, that being said, sometimes there are words that I will provide to a student, and I will write them on a tiny little Post-it, words like birthday. It's the whole focus of the story. They went to a birthday party. They want to know how to spell it. You can just tell them to make a line, and that you'll tell them how to spell it when they're finished. If you have a struggling writer, and by that I mean they struggle to write even 5 or 6 letters onto a page, sometimes it's really helpful to take a yellow marker to write out what that first sentence of what they want to say, and they can write over it with pencil. These are things you really want to communicate with the teacher as well, because the more that you help, the harder it is for the teacher to know what your student needs. So those 3 things are helpful. The other thing you can do is ask questions. Who did you go to the birthday party with? Ask. Oh, that's good. You can write that down. This is true of middle school and high school. Ask them questions. If their ideas aren't very clear, have them add some more details. As a general rule, we look at a couple things when we do writing. We talk about a green circle sentence. At upper elementary, middle school, and high school, you might call it a topic sentence. In elementary, that first sentence includes when, who, and what. Over the weekend, I went to the park with my family. When, who, what. Then I might add 3 details. In middle school and upper grades, you're going to have 3 details or 3 supporting paragraphs. It's always 3. We played on the swings. I saw my friend Jack, and I got to play with my new basketball. Those are 3 great details. You can ask your child to expand on that, but if they've written for a set period of time, have them put it down. They can always go back and add more details the next day. The last thing that we always have in writing is a concluding sentence. We call it a heart sentence in 1st grade. I had a great time at the park with my family. Fantastic. You want to re-support your ideas in middle school and high school, and there's a lot of different posts that you can find on helping support your students at that level. But again, the first goal in writing is to get their ideas down. Have them sound out words, even high frequency words. You may be able to give them some, but just write it for them really quick or highlight it. Those words, they will learn. We want them to start sounding them out so we know that, okay? If you need to support in a little more structured way, a highlighter or a yellow marker, that helps the teacher know that you wrote it for them. And then the second part, they add another sentence after that to the best of their abilities, okay? 3 details and then a heart sentence or a concluding sentence. I hope that helps a little bit with writing. With math, you just want to encourage your students to be able to do the best they can. If they have questions, to ask their teachers. You're going to help them get it done. I hope you found this video helpful. From everything from setting alarms, making sure that you support your student, keeping their materials and organizing their spaces. Your teachers will help as well, but a team effort is really going to benefit your student the most. Then you want to make sure that your student is all set with their technology, things you can do at the end of the day, and please read emails from your teachers, principals, and district. At this point in the year, they are very helpful for you to know what's going on. And at least for our district, there's a lot of information in there to help support you in organizing and knowing what's going on. Good luck this year. It's going to be great.